Desequilibrio químico no podían ocultar las crecientes pruebas de efectos secundarios comunes y aterradores, como la acaticia.
Akathisia is like an extreme inner nervous agitation. People describe it as wanting to crawl out of their own skins. And this happens with great frequency, and it is absolutely, totally well understood to be associated with suicide and violence and homicide.
Tras años de informes de esos efectos secundarios e incontables casos de violencia, automutilación y muerte, en 1991, especialistas en salud, legisladores y el público finalmente obligaron a la FDA a ordenar una investigación.
I know with absolute certainty that if Charles had any idea of the side effects of Prozac, he would never have taken it.
I had two sons, David Lee, age 8, Billy 16. The wife 20 years old, gone. I'll tell you why. After being on Prozac for 21 days, my wife shot and killed both of these two boys right here. She turned the gun to herself and shot herself twice.
I took the 9mm automatic, sat down on the bed and put the gun to my head. And I blew a 4-inch hole out the back of my arm instead of my head. Thank God I was a lousy shot. Had someone looked further into Prozac, steps could have been taken to avoid it.
Lo que se suponía que fuera una sesión imparcial era un panel de psiquiatras que en su gran mayoría tenía lazos financieros con las compañías farmacéuticas.
They basically couldn't find an expert, a doctor, a psychiatrist, at a leading medical school who basically in some way or another didn't have a consulting agreement, hadn't taken money from the pharmaceutical companies.
I do not find from the evidence today that there is credible evidence to support a conclusion that antidepressant drugs cause the emergence and or the intensification of suicidality and or other violent behaviors.
500 deaths, 33 murder cases, and over 20,000 adverse side effects. Would you like to tell me why this drug is still on the market?
Is there an alliance, an unholy alliance between the psychiatric community, the pharmaceutical industry, and the FDA? And the answer is yes.
Esta alianza deshonesta se hizo muy evidente en 1997, cuando las compañías farmacéuticas persuadieron a la FDA a que se les permitiera anunciar directamente al público. Con los psiquiatras proporcionando aprobación médica, en solo 3 años, la venta de drogas psiquiátricas se disparó casi 2 veces y media. Cuando el número de víctimas de la violencia y el suicidio subió hasta las nubes, la indignación del público obligó a la FDA a publicar etiquetas con advertencias sobre los antidepresivos. Pero para entonces ya habían pasado 13 años, se habían hecho miles de millones de dólares y los psiquiatras comercializaban sus nuevas drogas milagrosas. Más del 8% de la población mundial ha tomado drogas psiquiátricas, basadas en ciencia falsa y respaldadas por gente comprada que regulan las drogas. Sus dañinos medicamentos logran utilidades brutas de casi 27.000 millones de dólares al año. Y mientras los psiquiatras encontraban una forma de diagnosticar y drogar a cada habitante del planeta, en otro frente, continuaban su asalto contra nuestras libertades más personales. Los psiquiatras exigen el derecho absoluto a determinar qué es lo mejor para el llamado enfermo mental. Después de todo, el enfermo mental está loco y no es capaz de evaluar su propio tratamiento. Para hacer cumplir su autoridad sobre los demás y mantener sus hospitales llenos a niveles redituables, los psiquiatras usan un método llamado internación involuntaria.
When you go to a real doctor, say a family doctor or a cardiologist, a patient always has the right to refuse treatment. So there is no such thing as involuntary treatment when it comes to clinical medicine as practiced by real doctors. Psychiatrists, of course, believe that people can be treated against their will.
En 1956, el psiquiatra Winford Overholser presentó un plan al Congreso en el que tenía la intención de llevar la internación involuntaria a un nuevo nivel. El plan era comprar 400.000 hectáreas de páramos en Alaska, construir un inmenso hospital mental y cambiar las leyes de internación para que se pudiera enviar a cualquiera con una simple indicación de un psiquiatra. El proyecto de ley pasó rápidamente por la Cámara de Representantes, pero cuando el público se enteró del plan, se enfureció, refiriéndose a él como Siberia, Estados Unidos. El Senado canceló el proyecto de ley. Pero aunque el fin del proyecto de ley Siberia detuvo sus planes a gran escala, la internación involuntaria seguía siendo el método más eficaz y lucrativo para llenar los hospitales psiquiátricos.
Again, the person has committed no crime and has no trial and is sent directly to a mental hospital, which is really a prison.
How many people go to an insane asylum and say, please lock me up? Doctors don't lock up anybody. Psychiatrists lock you up.
Incluso los niños pueden ser separados de sus padres, dejándoles poco recurso legal.
They just invaded our home. They came in with officers. Our kids were scared. You know, they come in with pieces of paper and say, you're giving us your kids. And it's like, you know, how can they just come in and do that?
She said, you could be arrested for medical neglect. And I said, but how is that when, you know, this is my child? And I see that he doesn't need that much medication. Why would you threaten me with something like that?
At 10 p.m., 2 policemen and 2 social workers came to my house and took all 4 of my kids away.
Una vez internado en un hospital psiquiátrico, al paciente se le droga y se le controla.
The more a person objects, the more this objection is construed as symptom of a mental illness.
At which point the person would be locked up in restraints. There would be the ankle, the knee, the waist, the head, the wrist, and the shoulder restraints. And if when that process was happening, if there was almost any resistance at all, the person then would be medicated to a point where they would almost be knocked out.
We had one case where they actually took a patient in a seclusion room and beat him up. And then they lied about it to the services that investigated. So it's a pretty wide range of abuse issues that we've encountered.
El personal psiquiátrico provoca a sus pacientes a la violencia para poder cobrar a las compañías de seguro hasta $1,600 diarios por cada paciente inmovilizado.
A patient would resist diagnosis, resist treatment, and also want to leave treatment while they were at the hospital. And invariably, every time, that person's situation would be exacerbated until they were put in constraints and medicated, at which point there would be documented reasons to keep that person in treatment.
La carga de tales sumas reclamadas se le cobra directamente al público en las crecientes primas de seguros de salud. En cuanto a sus víctimas, la experiencia es traumática e incluso mortal.
16-year-old Rochelle Claiborne died in Laurel Ridge's care last August. The state report shows during the restraint, quote, Rochelle stated several times she could not breathe.
In almost all respects, the staff behaved appropriately, followed the standards.
Aprovechándose de que las leyes sobre la restricción son débiles o vagas, a los psiquiatras y a su personal casi nunca se les acusa criminalmente por agresión con lesiones y asesinato.
He begged me to take him home, take him out of there, that they were treating him wrongly, and he didn't want to stay there. And I got a call that there had been an accident, that they held him down until he couldn't breathe anymore. I wish I would have listened to him, take him out of there before it had happened. And then I miss him every day. And I wish I could have him back, but I can't.
Hasta hoy, a nadie se le ha acusado por el asesinato del niño. Los ancianos son un objetivo importante del abuso psiquiátrico, con el tratamiento de ancianos en hospitales mentales que cuesta al gobierno y a las compañías de seguros más de $29 mil millones al año.
Unwarranted commitment has occurred that wouldn't have occurred if the people hadn't had insurance. The proof of that pudding is generally in how fast they get out once the insurance runs out.
Involuntary commitment is a form of psychiatric slavery, where persons are treated as if they're property and they are deprived of liberty, and people are making money in the process.
As long as we have involuntary malhospitality, psychiatry is a prison work. It's a crime against humanity. It is not medicine.
Cada minuto del día, alguien es encerrado involuntariamente en un hospital psiquiátrico. Y si crees que es algo que no puede ocurrirte a ti o a alguien que conoces, piénsalo mejor. Cada 75 segundos en Estados Unidos, alguien es internado en contra de su voluntad. Y con más de $1 billón dedicados a los hospitales de Estados Unidos desde 1965, los psiquiatras se han conseguido un negocio muy lucrativo, oculto tras una interpretación dudosa de la ley. Pero muy a menudo los psiquiatras cometen crímenes demasiado flagrantes para ignorarlos.
The FBI has raided the headquarters of one of the nation's largest operators of psychiatric hospitals.
Hundreds complained of overbilling, misdiagnosed conditions, and insurance fraud.
Investigators say they found more than 5,000 similar cases in all 50 states.
Psychiatrists clearly are getting rich.
Psychiatrists traded drugs for sex, filed false insurance claims, and exploited patients sexually.
We have uncovered some of the most elaborate, aggressive, creative, deceptive, immoral, and illegal schemes being used to fill empty hospital beds with insured and paying patients.
Cada psiquiatra hace un juramento de seguir un código de conducta ética, de poner el cuidado de sus pacientes por encima de todo. Pero de todas las disciplinas médicas, la psiquiatría tiene el peor récord de fraude y abuso.
Psychiatry is almost a license to print money. If a doctor were clever enough, and many of them are, there's no reason that they couldn't make at least $500,000 a year fraudulently and get away with it in psychiatry.
I don't purport to have deposed every psychiatrist in Las Vegas. I can tell you for a fact I haven't. Maybe I've deposed half, and by and large they were a dishonest, deceitful, lying bunch of people.
Tan frecuentes son sus prácticas engañosas y criminales, las cuales facturan, que los investigadores de seguros tienen una frase de jerga para ello: el hola de California y el apretón de manos de $100.
$100 handshake is when usually a patient is institutionalized. Psychiatrist, psychologist will visit that person, shake hands with them, say, hello, I'm Dr. So-and-so, I'm taking care of your problem here, and then leaves.
They might have 10 or 20 patients there. They bill an hour for each one, and they might be in the hospital for a total of 30 minutes. So 20 patients, 20 hours, and they'd send the bills off to Medicaid.
We see that most of the victims of recovered memory therapy were women who had excellent health insurance, whether it was government insurance or private insurance, because many insurance policies wouldn't pay for this kind of long-term nonsense. So those people were targeted because of the nature of the insurance that they had.
Cada año, la industria psiquiátrica de Estados Unidos defrauda al gobierno y a las aseguradoras privadas por $40 mil millones usando cualquier medio posible para engañar al público.
There were some advertisements, very seductive advertisements, for people wanting to lose weight and were having problems losing weight. And they would be given, all expenses paid to go to a particular spa. But when they got to this spa and went in and signed in, it wasn't a spa, it was a psychiatric center. And then they couldn't get out.
What instead they received massive doses of mind-altering drugs, and they were kept for a lengthy period of time, and their insurance carrier was billed tremendous amounts of money for something that was unnecessary.
Pero sus mentiras van más allá del pabellón psiquiátrico y hasta los tribunales, donde como testigos pagados dirán cualquier cosa para cobrar sus honorarios.
A psychiatric expert who will have one opinion in one scenario and a completely opposite opinion in another scenario based on which law firm or governmental agency is paying for his time.
The psychiatrist on one hand will tell the public that suicide can be prevented, but will go into court and tell a jury that suicide cannot be prevented. And then once you show his prior inconsistent statements, you also show that he is paid very well by pharmaceuticals, then the jury says, you know what, we're not so sure about you because you just lied to us.